Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this fourth episode of the R&D Grail. It's a monthly webinar conducted by Nutrify Today Academy. The theme for today's webinar is Sugar, Salt and Sensation, Reformulate Without Regret. I am Munib from Nutrify Today Academy and I am your host for this dynamic session. Today we will explore a very important question in the food innovations. It is like, when we reduce sugar and salt, are we basically redesigning the sensory experience our consumers crave, or are we just adjusting the labels to meet the regulatory demands? In this era of clean labels, health consciousness and bold flavor expectations, how do we reformulate without regret? That is the question we are going to address today in this discussion. Guiding our discussion today is very experienced and brilliant Dr. Balkumar Marthi. He will be moderating the session and will introduce our expert panelists, and he will keep this conversation flowing with his sharp insights. Over to you, Balkumar sir, for taking the discussion forward.
Thank you so much, Munib. I like those descriptions. One of the descriptions in the LinkedIn post was seasoned expert. So it's maybe seasoning dal ke thoda paka diya. I'm really happy to be here to moderate this fourth episode of the R&D Grail. I think we've had some very interesting, exciting, entertaining and insightful discussions over the last three grails, and in the same vein we are tackling a subject that is if I might use the same word, the holy grail in terms of food formulation is the challenge that is required in terms of salt and sugar reduction, and why that is important, and why are there so many challenges. It's not like just replacing a flavor with something else or masking a bad odor. It's something more than that, because salt and sugar obviously play a bigger role. Let me quickly introduce our panelists to you today. A group of experts, starting from looking at the screen. The first person next to me on the screen, Mr. Subbarao Chinni. Subbarao comes to us from, he's the MD of Reyes Companies, where he has done a lot of work on vegetarian soft gels and nutraceutical innovations for accessible health. It's an offshoot of pharma, and I think he brings a lot of insights both from the pharma world as well as the food world, and it'll be really useful to hear from us, for us to hear from him on the subject that we are dealing with today. Second is Professor Ganesh Bagler from IIIT-Delhi, and this is a term I haven't actually heard before, Professor Bagler, is computational gastronomy, and I'm really looking forward to your insights in that. I've heard of molecular gastronomy, and I've experienced that a lot in Europe, and it'll be good to hear from you about how computational gastronomy towards the later part of this grail will help us understand the challenge of reformulation. And he is a food science expert who is very, very adept at transforming flavors, health and sustainability issues while taking care of them from roots and physics. And finally, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Bidret Khokre, Chief Scientist and Founder of Science on Wheels Bio Private Limited, who spent more than 15 years in nutraceutical R&D, formulation, regulatory and IPR, from both specialized nutrition for cancer to adaptogens, and also looking at sports nutrition and the resultant requirements. So a very high-powered panel today for us, and I'm really looking forward to your views. So this will be a pretty informal, free-flowing kind of discussion on each of the questions that come up or discussion points that come up. I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity to express your perspectives, so that we can then come to a common conclusion towards the end. So let me start with the first obvious question. Like we said, it's a big problem. It's a problem that's been there in the food industry ever since the food industry has started becoming a little more responsible in terms of health and wellness. And we all know that salt and sugar both have yes, and undoubtedly benefits, but they can also cause a lot of issues in terms of both cardiovascular health, diabetes, lifestyle diseases, etc. So the question that comes up now is how did we rely so much on salt and sugar for formulation? Because one of the things that salts and sugars do is help you in formulating products in a bit more stable manner. So let's start with that. Then what is the main function of first salt and sugar in formulation design? So Subbarao, would you like to go ahead first?
Thank you very much for calling me here. So and we have been discussing like salt and sugar, which is when we talk about the nutraceutical or the food industry, these are the two main elements which makes your product to be successful in the market. Because the taste, whatever the health condition the product may be, or for the whatever the health problem you will be addressing the product, but the major is the taste, which plays a bigger role in accepting the product in the market. So the combination of both, like, depends upon how much sugar to be used or the salt to be used, or reducing it by different technologies or things like, but the taste is a major one. So these two are very, very important when you are working with the product, as from my side.
Okay. All right. Professor Bagler, but it's also not just taste, right?
Yeah. It is not only about taste, it is also about the calories. For example, sugar is something which we have evolutionarily adapted over a long history of human civilization, and before that, in terms of what provides us calories. And therefore, from the African savanna where our predecessors might have lived, we have figured out how to eat food which is rich with calories, which is rich in sugars, incidentally. And that's how we have adapted to eating more and more sugar. And even today, in a world which is rich with calories, we crave for more and more sugar, despite the fact that we are already oversaturated by that. So that is one thing. And salt, I presume, over a period of time, right from preservation, which it has been classically used, historically has been used, it has been used to enhance the flavor as an additive of any given dish for that matter. So over a period of time, all the civilizations, incidentally, have figured out how to use salt and sugar in a meaningful fashion that will entice people to eat more and create delicious dishes out of them. I'm not an industry person, but I'm telling you from the human evolution perspective and how tastes have adapted over a period of time.
Okay, great. Besides the obvious benefit of taste, Dr. Khopre, is you see that food formulators rely so much on salt and sugar. Every formulation has it, whether it is a savory product or a sweet product. What do salt and sugar give you in terms of those advantages? Besides the taste, of course is a given.
Cheapest source, cheapest filler you can use in terms of, I can talk about sugar, but yeah, salt actually adds to good flavors. I mean, it enhances the flavor. That's one, and eventually. Salt also, sodium and sugar are known to, they are known to have, this thing. You can compare them with certain elements, that body crave for. So any product, you add more sugar or more sodium, specifically, in a chloride, soda, salt, would lead to, more craving, and that leads to more sales, but perhaps, more consumption of the product. So these are two fundamentals, let's say from industry perspective. Any industry would want to grow. They would want to sell more. So the easiest trick is you add something, that is cheap, that is tasty, that leads consumer to come again and again. And fundamentally also, if you ask me, human was we were hunters some hundreds of years back, probably thousands. So the body, the evolution of any organism happens, and there would be enzymes, there would be, probiotics, bacteria associated. So body has tendency, human body still has tendency to, utilize and absorb the smaller molecules, the simpler molecules. Sugar comes it's a very simple molecule. And then body tend to, use it and of course convert it to, fat for further use. So that's more like, abundance of sugar we have now. That's leading to the problem. Not just that sugar is bad. Sugar is fine. In a moderation, if you eat, it is helpful, especially for kids. But yeah, I mean, it's industry sees, from that perspective. I mean, more consumer coming again and again with the ingredient that is not very costly. So that's how the dynamics is.
Right. So, okay, besides that, yeah, obviously you want to make foods attractive, but like Dr. Bagler mentioned, salt has been used so much in preservation. Not only in preservation, because it obviously reduces the water activity of products, it keeps them safe for longer, but also sugar. I mean, as texturing agents, as retaining moisture, etc. Now, I was not so knowledgeable before I got into the food industry. Thing, ice cream is there has got sugars in it because of the taste. But when I joined Unilever and I saw how ice creams are made, you realize that there is such a large and serious structuring element to using sugars and salts. So I guess is it because of the ease of availability and also the very significant taste and flavor benefit that these other properties are considered bonuses, and that's why the use of sugar and salt has been so widespread?
It was before. I think the present scenario is changing a lot. Yes, in before conditions that like in pharma, like we want to use the syrups, then we will be requiring like the 65% of the sugar there. One for the stability purpose and one for the taste purpose. But now when we are coming to the industry side and the consumer side where the people are coming for GT2 brands, everyone wants to reduction in the sugar because that is a major like in the market presently like usage of sugar. One is the calories, which was very high, but there are several engineerings which has come up presently, which by reducing the sugar and maintaining some other way to provide the taste or even the stability of the product, or as you said, like even water content of the product. There are several other ways which has come up presently.
Okay. Anything the other two would like to add, Dr. Bagler?
Yeah, I would.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I would like to add a couple of things on, in terms of how industry is evolving now. As Subbarao ji has, very rightly mentioned that industry is evolving in, giving products that are less in calorie from sugars. Calorie probably coming from proteins, maybe, it's coming from complex carbs or it's coming from, healthy fats. So how it is happening, because now we have better molecules in terms of we have natural solutions to that. Stevia is there, then we have monk extracts is there, then you can do something with cinnamon extracts as well. Licorice is there. So there are a lot of options now, where formulator can work on and they can create a tasty and a clean product. Earlier the challenge was, there were a lot of unwanted, or you can say taste issue was there. When I'm into formulations, major part of my work goes into that. So when we used to develop product, the challenge was, the off note, the taste, the palate part. So now that is pretty much, sorted. Why? Because we have better molecules, refined, you can say, or you can say, in terms of organoleptic. So yeah, sugar reduction is happening, and it is happening, on a large extent. And in terms of salts, salt is important. We need both sodium, potassium. Because at a cellular level, we need that particular molecule. But yeah, if you see, sort of lifestyles we have, especially in cities, the salt is prime, ingredient for almost anything you savory you consider. It's there, literally there. So it adds up to the larger volume what is required. So that leads to imbalance, at molecular level also. And there are certain elements where we can reduce salt also, and we can, give the right note, flavor part, in terms of product also. So that those things are there now. And there are a lot of products that are, coming up with, these solutions.
Okay. Dr. Bagler, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think not much to add beyond what has been already said here, but I would like to simply say that food and beverages industry over a period of time have found ways by which they can use the natural cravings that human beings have for sugar, to some extent to salt as well, to create products which are extremely enticing. That's what they have been able to do successfully. And this is where I guess we'll be moving and talking about, what is the need? Is there an evidence, and is there a need for us to reduce the amount of salt and sugar that we use in our food products? But quite clearly, it has been gamified. The system has been gamified in a manner that sugar has become in variety of forms and names. It has become part of our packaged product industry, not to mention even otherwise. So that's my comment on that.
So we'll take that question that you raised. Is there a need? What is the need, and why is there so much fuss about it?
Well,
would you like to go on that?
Yeah. So the fuss, I presume, is coming because there have been enormous number of studies published in respectable journals, right from animal studies to the cohort studies, who have convincingly shown that overconsumption of salt and sugar, of course, up to a basal level of consumption is required for both of them, but beyond that, it becomes a problem. Whether it is all kind of lifestyle disorders are known to be are caused. In fact, salt and sugar are at the root of these lifestyle disorders. And this is where I presume there is a lot of hue and cry about overconsumption by virtue of eating processed food, which is rich with salt and sugar. And that is why the regulatory agencies from various countries, right from FDA to FSSAI, have come up with ways, movements where they are trying to asking people to reduce the salt and sugar in their regular food, as well as they are trying to come up with regulations such that salt and sugar can be reduced. And let us not forget that it is nothing unique to India or USA. Practically all the countries across the globe have accepted this scientific evidence. And in fact, taxes have been imposed for excess sugar that you otherwise add to the finished products.
We now know beyond doubt, I guess, that salt and sugar in excess amounts are not good for your health. Obviously, reduction targets are something that are being set elsewhere in different countries as well as in India. But Dr. Kokre, to come to you, what is the consumer angle to all of this? If we all accept that it is bad for health, but as consumers, do we accept that we might compromise a bit on taste and flavor? So, what would a consumer? Is that where the challenge lies big time?
Yeah, it is actually. Probably, I would say it is partially now. I mean, consumer don't want to compromise, especially country like it's a gigantic country. It's almost like a continent. We have like 140 crore people. So I mean, in lastly like couple of decades, I mean, it has been carbs, which is predominantly our food. We start our day with carbohydrates. It's not like protein based or not healthy, fat based. So yeah, I mean, it would take time to understand, that sugar and simple carbs are important, but they lead to certain health issues as well. Now coming to consumer perspective, consumer is not ready to compromise on taste. And as a from the formulation side and manufacturing side, it's our duty also to give them a product that is pretty tasty, and it is taking care of all the elements that are required to add up to the benefits of the health. And it is possible now. How it is possible is it that instead of using simple sugars or something coming out of maltose or corn starches, so we can use complex carbohydrates that are difficult to digest by our body, and it takes time. And we can use a lot of fibers now. I mean, it can be in certain ratio. It can be a ratio of partial fiber to a soluble to insoluble fibers. So I see, and like we've been doing this, I mean, from past couple of years, especially like post-COVID, that the more stress is on gut. I mean, you see there is a lot of issues related to gut. So how we can mitigate that? Easiest way to do that is, if the gut has to be healthy, it has to have a lot of bacteria. We call it probiotics in it. They need to be healthy. There should not be pathogens. The osmotic pressure among the lining has to be right, and it has to be in a condition that it would absorb the nutrients, especially micro. So for that, fiber plays a critical role in the gut. It helps in water retention of certain fibers, and it helps in growth of certain bacteria, good bacteria. That in that form, it leads to better health. So yeah, we've been creating products using fibers as base, not sugars. And from the sweetness perspective, the palate in terms of they want to tasty product. I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, stevias are there. There are other things, which are taking care of that sweetness element. So it is possible, but yeah, one thing I would like to add here is these products would not be competitive in terms of price than what used to be. I mean, health needs some input cost. So that is there in form of fiber.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but it's still, yes, I see your point, but Subbarao-ji, if you look at the whole perception of taste and flavor and what consumers like, don't like, it's not just about your sensorials. Of course, it's a multi-sensory experience, of course, but especially in salts and sugars, it's also a link to your culture, your background, your habits at home and all that. And so when you talk about home foods that are close to home or close to scratch, as we call them, we may and then you say that you need to reduce salt and sugar. That kind of goes against the grain. How do you think consumers would react to something like that?
So if you see today, everyone is aware of the health, and almost like after COVID, I can say everyone has started talking, or the people are talking, or the wellness coaches are giving more on the Instagrams or things like. And every house, wherever I go and see, or wherever we are seeing, even if in your own community and thing, the people are talking on this, like, okay, go less sugar or less salts, like. But when we come into the industry side, where we are producing the formulations, the major challenge we face is like every D2C companies are today asking for clean label, where they don't want to have sugar content majorly. This is the biggest challenge which we are facing. Because the consumers are today, first, whenever they take the product, first they are opening the backside, the NA values, and there they see what is the sugar content, what is the sodium content, which is being prescribed by each and every country to be must on the labels. Where I'm coming onto the nutraceuticals or even the food package food sites. But if you're not giving the taste as per the requirement, then the product is a failure.
Correct.
So there are several technologies which have come up today. We can very boldly say we are also working on several products. Our aim is like use nil sugar, and we reformulated several formulations, and we have done the stabilities and everything by using different ingredients and by using different technologies.
We'll come to that.
So presently it is possible, but yes, the people are aware now, and everyone is looking for no sugar or less salt. This awareness is coming, and everyone is looking for the same. And every company whichever we are working, the first thing they ask, like, sir, if we say that added sugar, first they will say, sir, no, this product will not go into the market. So please try to see that the added sugar is 0. So this is the first question from each and every company whichever we are working. So it means that it's the consumer requirement today. Otherwise the company should have not asked us today. And the people are, as you said, that the cost goes up, but the people are aware and they are ready to pay for it now. From the industry side or from the pharmaceutical sides, which we are working with the companies.
Well, that's good to hear that consumers are becoming more aware whether, actually in the market they'll pay a higher price is something you need to test and see that. Professor Bagler, in terms of specifically salt reduction, for example, the track record hasn't been that great in reducing salt, and in most cases we've seen that where companies reduce it step by step, that works much better than at a time. And in many cases, the success has come from what is, I guess, called as health by stealth kind of stuff, where you just reduce the salt and don't tell consumers about it. I know in today's environment that may not work. Where are we on that in terms of newer technology? I'll come back to Subbarao and Kokre, sir, to talk about specifics, but in terms of your understanding, where are we, and what are the promises that technology holds for us?
Quite a lot of them. Some of them actually, in my opinion, root back to tradition, because quite clearly, traditionally, we have been developing recipes which are good in terms of their taste, palatable and tasty, but at the same time, they are not too enriched with the salt and sugars. So, for example, we have dug down the data of large number of recipes. Talk about Indian. So we have around few tens of thousands of recipes from Indian subcontinent. And if you were to look at the recipes which have reasonably low value of salt and sugar in them, and try to learn from them, that's one of the ways by which you can learn from the traditional which have been fairly good in terms of not having too much sugar and salt. Of course, I'm not denying the fact that all the recipes are not of that quality. A lot of contemporary recipes which have been become part of the culture over a period of time, they may be full of sugar and salt, but at the same time there are nuggets of recipes which do have less sugar and less salt, despite being despite that they are very tasty, right? So one is that part of it. The second part is that of the science of the so-called chemoinformatics, or within computational gastronomy, looking for molecules which are having the kind of desirable taste, such as sweetness, but at the same time have low calorific content. And while doing so, we have been still stuck with stevia and a couple of other alternatives that are being projected by the market leaders, may I say. But at the same time, there is a plethora of molecules which are sitting out there, which are either natural or nature-like, which could be having sugar-like qualities in terms of taste, sensory qualities, and at the same time, they don't add to the calorific content. So these are a couple of directions. Same applies for salt as well, by the way. Saltiness as given by one or the other molecular composition. For example, KCl has been wall alternative, which has got its own problems in terms of having certain notes which are undesirable. But science has been relentlessly working, trying to find out alternatives. And I can say it clearly because, for example, sugar-rated beverages companies, they have been the regulators have been after them to ensure that the sugar level goes down, and that is where they are using this chemoinformatics approaches, where they can mine the data of large number of molecules which have desirable level of sweetness, and for example, machine learning, deep learning, the broad umbrella of artificial intelligence technologies are helping us trying to identify such molecules. Just to give a sense of some of the science which is happening in this direction.
Yeah, but I may also add that it's relatively easier in beverages to reduce sugar because there's not much of structuring. But when it comes to solid foods, both salt and sugar reduction can be an issue. So I think maybe that a reason why that hasn't progressed as much as in beverages. Dr. Kokre?
Yeah. See, you are perfectly. You're on spot on this. Reason being, beverage. We have only the number of ingredients are less, and when we create matrix powders are there and other matrix which are a little complex. The expectation from the consumer itself is they want to have all the things in one scoop probably, or maybe one serving. So the nutrient goes up to 30, 35, 40 also. We have certain products where we created something using 70, 80 ingredients. Pretty complex. But yeah, a lot of fun to do, understand the molecule, how it behaves, how the overall palette comes. Adding to that, there are certain tricks which we also learned in due course of time. For salt, salt has a specific note, on the tongue. Basically that's the purpose. So there are, certain salts like salts of magnesium, salts of calcium, which are in citrate form. If you add a little bit of that, that take care of a little bit of sodium probably in the chloride form. You can, work on KCl, potassium. You can work on some other salt. So, it is just, understanding the salt, how it gives note, and, how stable it is with other matrix. That's one way of, reducing the salt. And when I come to sugars, I see, there are a lot of, disaccharides that are sweet, that are less in calorie. There are fibers that are less in calorie. So, we work around those rather than adding, simple sugar. We mostly don't use sugars. In recently past 2-3 years, I've been observing in all our formulations, we try to do more with the fiber, more with disaccharides, or maybe, complex carbs, which is mildly sweet, and it, leads to better gut also, better absorption also, and overall bulk to the product. Now coming to the root question, which was, is it complex to create powders than beverage? The answer is yes, but only in powder form. But when you compare stability of powder versus liquid is always complex.
Right.
It tends to be, shorter shelf life. Powders tend to be longer shelf life. Same sort of, research inputs in that. But yeah, beverage is easy to, take care of. At least I can say sugar with certain elements than powders. In powders, what we opt for, we go for higher fibers, combination of licorice, stevias, other things, and some disaccharides. So that's the approach we follow, and it is working out pretty well in terms of overall digestibility of the product and overall nutrients absorption, because there are certain products where we do clinicals also, and we get to know the overall, micronutrient which is there in the, body. So it has shown it is on the right side, this approach what we are following. And it's
Okay,
like
great.
people are doing that. Many, formulation houses are doing that. Many manufacturing houses are doing that.
Okay. Yeah, but before I go to Subaraji, reminder to the participants, please post your questions in the Q&A box so that we can take them at the end of the discussion. Thank you. Subaraji, you were mentioning a little bit ago, a while ago, about you've successfully developed formulations, technologies, etc. Is it something you can talk about without revealing any confidential information that will help other formulators look at this problem in a different manner?
As Dr. Kokara has already explained you, the technologies has been improving a lot, and the people are working a lot, because this is the biggest challenge today for the market, like making the product more stable and more acceptable to the people, but without having sugar. Mainly, when I'm come to the sugar, I'll not come up to the salt, on the sugar. Yeah. We also have taken a pledge like, okay, we don't want to use sugar in our facility. And we have formulated several formulations without sugar. The same formulations which were there before with the sugars. The technologies where you said like you can use different fibers or disaccharides or sugar alcohols. The new technologies which we have recently used is the peptides we have come up using of different peptides to solve the problem of the bitterness of the product. The major challenge where we face is like in pharmaceuticals or in nutraceutical products are the products which we take it through mouth, like powders majorly, or putting the powder into the liquid and mixing and then taking it. That's the biggest challenge where we face is like the taste. You have to give the nutrient to the people, but the taste is a major concern there. If you are not having the taste, even the product is very good, they're very healthy, the product fails there. So here we have come up like we have used different technologies, like one I will explain like maybe useful to the people, like we have reduced the particle size of the products or the coatings of the products with the different ingredients, where we can solve the bitterness and then use natural sweetness like stevia, which is already told, but again today. And there are the restrictions on identical sweetening agents like acesulfame or neotame, or there are several products, but now the restrictions are coming even on those ingredients, like how much percentage can be there in the product. So this is again a bigger challenge, like every country has become very stringent on usage of these ingredients, because there were studies saying that it is a carcinogenic or it is giving problem to the people majorly. So this is becoming again a biggest challenge. So there again the restrictions or using of non-natural sweetening ingredients is becoming a biggest challenge presently in industry. So in this scenario, we have recently come up like taste masking. So first, like masking the products with the different ingredients, and then adding the less quantity of sweeteners. So this is one of the technologies which we used there. And peptides, we have used two products where we are working on the peptides, using the peptides and solving the problem of the bitterness of the product. So these are some technologies which we have been doing. And there are bitter masking agents which has come up by using different ingredients, but again those particular ingredients is being regulated. Again, we can use or we cannot use it. So this is becoming a big challenge, to be frank. The development is coming, the engineering is coming. So where we are trying to mainly is mask the products with natural ingredients. So we used recently one of the product where we have used a natural ingredient to mask the taste of the bitterness of the product, and then use less quantity of the sweetness like stevia, and then give the product to the market. But yes, it is becoming challenging day by day, and it will evolve, and almost like I think like the people are working on it, and it is getting evolved most.
I'll throw out a generic question, more out of my ignorance than anything else. Is that why should if we, like you mentioned, if you look for different compounds, alternatives, whether natural or not, you always will have an issue, question about safety and toxicity, etc. Why can't there enough effective strategies for reducing the salt and the sugar without adding anything through clever formulation tools? Or formulation strategies?
Your tongue will not accept it first.
Okay.
That's the biggest challenge.
Right.
Everyone wants whatever the nutraceutical health ingredient it is.
Yeah.
If it is not tasty, the product is failed. How much ever you speak, the people will say, okay, it is unflavored. You show me. The product is failed. But the same product which has been given with a flavored, and again, here also there we can use the natural flavors which can mask the taste. So where it doesn't require to add more sugars there, which is another one technology, like where we are using one of the product. But yes, the taste is a major role for the product to get success. In that there is no any other second thought.
Okay. Dr. Khokri, you were about to say something.
Subbarao Garu has rightly mentioned, see, the challenge is among, it's the consumer has been eating certain type of food, products, nutraceutical, now it's evolving. So, it is difficult to change the expectation in probably 1 decade, 10, 15 years. It's really, really difficult. So it is industry who has to come up with, very clever solutions. That's one. And second thing is, gradually reducing the empty calories, of course, and then increasing the product, the ingredients that are beneficial to health, which is protein and good fats. So now coming to one point which he has rightly mentioned, see, we are using a lot of herbs in our products. Because India is we have the biggest, I would say, herbs that has medicinal benefit. Like when you compare with the global herbal standards. And we have to utilize it. Of course, it has its own benefits. Now, the common challenge, the basic challenge is the moment you add herb, it is not tasty. That's there. So, what generally, what we follow the approach is we mask herb using herb. So, if you see, that's the easiest way. You let's say, you have polyphenols bitter, caffeine bitter. Anything coming from that side, very, very bitter. So, how are you going to mask it? You're going to mask it with other herb. Fenugreek does mask polyphenols, it does mask ECGC, it does mask, caffeines. So it's a clever trick, where you have both the nutrients giving the benefit and of course doing due diligence in terms of regulatory, in terms of overall stability, what would be the outcome of the product. And benefit definitely, whether they should not be contraindicative. They should complement each other benefit. So if, we use certain softwares, and we do meta-analysis of previous data, as Professor Ganesh has clearly mentioned. So that really helps us to identify how we can create or structure the formulation. And rest all happens in lab. Once you start something, you would come out with something. That's there. Formulators are pretty good in India.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Professor Bagler, this is, I don't know if this question will make sense or not, but carrying on from what Dr. Khokri said, gastronomy, whether it's molecular or computation, gastronomy is about creating desires or fulfilling desires that people didn't really expect that they would have. So it's an unfulfilled or unmet or unexpressed need. Using that principle to say that, okay, I eat a certain food, I can fool my senses to accept it as something else. Are there strategies where you could actually make foods healthier? I'll just call them, make them healthier, which means reduce salt, reduce sugar, reduce whatever.
In my opinion, yes. While I know that the industry experts have weighed in the direction of saying that, look, as long as it is not liked by people, if it is not tasty, it won't be taken. I agree with that part. But I also believe that there is a emergent property of a food which can be eventually tasty while you are not adding so much of sugar and salt that you otherwise tend to add in today's products. So it is possible to incorporate certain flavors, natural products, oftentimes natural products and nature-like products, which can be added to the formulation so as to balance the flavor in a manner that while you are not adding excess sugar and salt, the final product is still tasty. That is doable is what my thought process tells me. I don't have a software or a tool that is ready made right now which I can tell you that it works, but I know it is we are moving in that direction because computational gastronomy is all about collecting a large amount of data on different facets of food, right from the recipes to the ingredients to the flavor molecules and the nutritional value, so as to come up with applications which are sought after by consumers, or for that matter food producers. So that is the direction we are moving towards. There is no quick and easy solution, that is very clear. Had it been there, I would have been a billionaire already. But having said that, we are moving in that direction where science-backed solutions would be available and industries will be able to design products which are less in sugar, less in salt, and will be able to balance using existing flavors. We have some interesting databases. You guys should, all of those who are listening, should look up those.
So this is an invitation to all participants. Please visit the respective websites and see whether you can find interesting articles. And by looking at the other panelists, by the shaking of their heads, I realize they also agree wholeheartedly with this thing that Professor Bagler has said about, there are a lot of promises and a lot of things that can really be done. So let me then go on to what about regulations? In general, we know that regulations as they relate to nutraceuticals or health and wellness products are lagging behind. There's no they need to catch up with the rate of progress that you see. And is it also very similar in this particular specific area? And what should we do in terms of a regulatory approach to actually foster these kinds of development, encourage these kinds of developments? Otherwise, a standard traditional one ingredient based safety assessment is not going to be enough. So what are your thoughts, Dr. Khokri? You to start first.
Yeah, so see, I personally believe the regulation, the list what was shared by FSI among industry, it's pretty in terms of broad. They have captured a lot of things, but they have missed a lot as well. So it goes both ways. they have a lot of ingredients. We have seen the FSI regulation has evolved in last 10, 15 years. I've been seeing it. A lot of ingredients they have incorporated, and they have incorporated right quantities as well. But what is happening now? There are newer indications. There are new problems, new approaches, new molecules which industry experts want to utilize. People want to utilize because probably that ingredient or that molecule is available in US market. They might have seen there, they might have seen the results. So they want to see it here as well. But the challenge is this, it's not there in the list. That's the most common thing what we feel when we create something novel. It is not there. So once we, let's say, go for application in terms of getting approval, it takes years. We even don't feel applying for it. Reason being, we know what would happen to that. Because the expectation of FSI also is right in a way. Why? Because they want data on Indian gut, Indian population, Indian population. They want data, the clinical data, which is right. I am up for that. But they have to have certain system where if we put in a lot of data from generic research papers that are validated, that are good research papers, they should give us a chance, create something, and maybe utilize it, or maybe test it in certain markets, or maybe under some doctor supervision, something like that. So that mechanism is missing. And as a country, how we would evolve if we don't have a mechanism where we are testing new molecules, new ingredients, or maybe combination of ingredients that has certain benefit, clear benefit, what we see from that research, what is available in Western countries or other countries. So that's a big gap. I see, we have come up, long way, because FSI is not a very old institution. It's a new only. And, they've been doing a lot, but, what to do? 140 crore people, they are taking care of nutraceutical, they are taking care of restaurant, they're taking care of, all the things what you can eat. So it's a lot. So I personally feel, they have to have industry experts on who can just probably give feedback. And meetings, certain mechanism where, this happens regularly, so that they would be up to the date. Okay, this is what expectation of industry is, and this is what probably industry only can support them with. Probably data, maybe product, maybe regulation, maybe stability of the product, maybe clinicals of the product. A lot of things happens. So that's missing. I mean, when I see, for any novel product we have to create, I mean, there are some catches. I mean, so I mean, we try and avoid those, of course. I mean, we don't do those products. I mean, frankly telling you, let's say we call, certain herbs are there in India which are utilized in our Ayurveda also, but they are not there in Nutra. And like Ayurveda, it's allowed. I mean, in IUC, I mean, they're rampant. I mean, they use it. But Nutra, they say no, big no. It's not there. So we get stuck there. But yeah, I mean, it is fine. I mean, from current scenario also, you can create a lot of good products. I mean, no doubt about that. It's just that, there has to be more correspondence between industry and FSI, experts and industry people. That would actually help, overall well-being of our country. And, I mean, we have to evolve and create to match, people who are sitting in Western countries. So they're doing some pretty good work because they have that free. So we are curtailed at certain levels. So that I see, needs to be taken care of. Yeah.
Okay, that's Subaraji, do you agree? Do you disagree, or are there any specific points you would like to bring up?
I agree to 50%. I doesn't agree to 50% of what Mr. Kukre was telling.
Okay.
The FSSI, as you said, yes, correct. It is just evolved, like about 6 to 7 years only it has started, and it is growing. And we really appreciate the things what they had captured. And I am pretty sure that they are more better than other countries where we had seen for capturing the ingredients which we can use. And it is becoming more stringent. And there is a process of where to get the product to get approved. And there are several products which has been approved and several products which has been rejected also. So it is all the regulation side where, as I said, yes, the regulations has been built and it will be evolving day by day. And they had been giving, before they said that these all coming to the not only the active ingredients, even the excipients. So they have given some of list of excipients where there were several no excipients available in this list, and which they made it like, yes, you have to follow this. And where the industry has given them or asked the government saying that this is not possible and there is so many of problems in this, they recalled it back again. It's not like that they don't listen to the thing. They recalled it back and they said that, okay, go and use as per the before requirements, and we'll come with the new regulation which can be more better way or more things like. So when it is not only in India, every country is evolving. I don't want to say that, okay, US is fully captured the things. No, it's not like that. Even there are several gaps. Every country is evolving, and every country is making it more stringent so that it will be more benefit to the consumers or more healthy to the consumers. The major aim for them is to make healthy product and not a product which will be harming to the people. That is a major concern, or that is a major single point agenda for the government. Yes. So it happens, but yes, if you can give, there is the ways to get it approved. And we got several ingredients which we got it approved, which was not there in the list. And yes, we have to provide them the documentation. And I say that India is more stringent than any other country to get the product approved.
Okay, in a way it's good. In a way, do you need some flexibility? Do you need some other approaches? Dr. Bagler, from using power of AI, what can be done there? Can there be a more effective, more reliable, at the same time protecting consumer safety?
You are talking about using AI in the context of consumer safety?
In the context of, safety. Here specifically safety. Now you talked about AI in formulation design. Now let's talk about safety.
In my opinion, any place where there is a large amount of data available and there are simple questions that are to be asked, which involve what is called as clustering, classification, and regression, you have AI coming into the picture. For example, if you want to classify products in, just talk about food processing levels, the NOVA classification levels 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to implement that on a mass scale, then having an AI-based system, ML-based system will be eminently useful rather than doing it manually, for example. And exactly in a similar manner, in other regulatory frameworks also, AI can play a big role in trying to identify what are the in different context of use cases, depending on the regulatory approval that you would like to use it for. So I'm not an expert in the regulatory processes, therefore I would not be able to talk much about AI intervention in the context of in the regulatory mechanisms, but I can foresee, given the fact that given the way AI operates, I can foresee how AI can be used even in that space.
Okay. Dr. Kokre, FSSAI recently said that it would use the principles of risk assessment to going forward. So, what do you think should be the elements when we talk about things like, whether it is flavor replacers, maskers, healthy ingredients as a general tool? What kind of risk assessments are you looking at? Individual molecules, or a formulation, or a more holistic approach?
So it has to be holistic, of course. I mean, if you go individual, there are a lot of molecules. But yeah, primary concern and primary objective has to be safety of consumer. I mean, nobody can deny that, and there cannot be any negotiations on that at any cost. That is mandate. But along with that, I mean, as a nation, I'll like give you one example. See, we have a lot of adaptogens in India. If you say like we have more than 3,000-4,000 herbal plants. So, like frankly telling you how many we are using, as a country, probably in Nutra, we are using 10-20 max. I mean, that tops 20-30 probably. So there is a lot which can be done. There is a lot which is happening. But, whether they will see the day of light as an ingredient in product, probably it would be a tough journey for these molecules. So how to infuse a molecule which was already used in your kitchens, in some form, some powder, whatever form. So there, that's a tricky area where FSSAI, as I was mentioning earlier also, regular, guideline is perfectly fine. That works perfectly fine for consumers, and it has to be that way only. Consumers should be protected. Industry comes second. But I mean, new molecules need to be encouraged. I mean, the science needs to be encouraged, and there has to be some license between government, some guidelines where they, have certain, if we give certain data, research data only, basis on the, analytics and basis on the clinicals. So that there has to be a speedy mechanism for those molecules, new molecules. So if we do that, I mean, we are sitting on a gold mine in terms of, phytoactives. I mean, frankly telling you, there is a, like, it's a gold mine we are sitting on. It's just that we are not utilizing it. As Ayurveda was known as, pseudoscience, something which has no rational, but Ayurveda works wonders. I mean, it's a great science. It's just that you have to understand it, how it percolates, how you have to utilize it, how you have to create something out of it, what time, what quantity, what ratio. I mean, that's the aspect, that's the game. I mean, it would not be a mundane, a journal product which you create for everyone. It would not work. And processing is the critical, process, mechanism, how we process that molecule. That plays a critical role, how it impacts the body. So, yeah, if we get some, cushion there, where FSSAI, it's a very lenient body. It's not that it's rigid, but it's pretty, I would say, have done a lot of work in last 10-15 years. We've been seeing that. I mean, we could, we used to send in CDs and, and hard copies, our application, 5 application per, we have done that a lot, like 100 products per year. But, it has evolved well. But yeah, I mean, still a lot of things can be done because we have that, talent, we have that need, and we have that resource to utilize in a way that that can benefit nation as such.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Looking at the time, I think we just have enough time to take questions. But before we take questions, I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity to summarize your message to the industry or whoever is on the call, academics, students, industry. What would be your 1 minute summary on that? Since Dr. Kogre, you have the mic, I will ask you to start.
I would request and I would ask anybody and everyone to be an entrepreneur, create your own niche. I mean, if Nutra is a very, very good area, evolving, growing, and you have a lot of challenges in terms of palate, in terms of health benefit, in terms of loading. So if you find out one, trust me, I mean, you have done a good deed. And in fact, it's sort of an indirect human service. I mean, we should do that. And there are a lot of venues where you can create something amazing, which has great health benefit, whether it's general nutrition or a critical care. So yeah,
great.
That's the message. Yeah.
Wonderful. Subaraji.
I will be concise to the today's topic. So I tell to the people, don't worry. There are several ways to do it. Yes, go ahead. And there are several topics like even AI we use in every day or even in our formulations to understand or to get the quick answers or the quick opening for that particular projects. Use AI there and reformulate it. Yes, the world requires today less sugar, less salt, because it has been labeled very clearly and every consumer is seeing it, and no need to worry. And there are several stable formulations which has come out by reducing this.
Great. Thank you. Professor Bagler.
Yes, in the context of today's theme, that of sugar and salt and reduction of that, as well as talking from my own perspective, I would say data is the new oil. Let us use data for building new formulations, creating new formulations which are tasty and healthy.
Fantastic. I've never seen a more positive set of messages, which is great to hear. Let me take the questions here. There are a few. One question, of course, is obvious, which we didn't discuss this much, but the question is about what strategies are used or should be used to compensate for the functional role of sugar beyond sweetness, such as texture and shelf life. Who would like to take that question?
I'll take that. Yeah. See, texture, can be improved using right amount of proteins as well, certain peptides as well. They are bitter. You can take care of the bitterness. But it can be done using certain healthy fats as well. So it's a bouquet of things that goes in the mouth when you feel or it's like a lot of messages happens. Messaging happens. It's just that how you create overall product. Sugar. Fiber can do a good job. If you want to replace sugar, texture, there are certain fibers that gives, right texture. You would not even know, it has sugar or fiber. So that's the easiest one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there are lots of technologies available. Next question. I think, Shikhar, we have answered this through the entire webinar. What emerging tools or techniques such as AI-driven modeling can optimize formulation? So I think we talked about this, so I don't see that we should revisit it again, unless you want something else you want to add, Professor Bagler.
Very quickly, I would like to tell that we have collected world's most extensive data of flavor molecules in the name of FlavorDB. It is available on our website for non-commercial exploration, and for commercial exploration, my company Foodoscope offers it as an API, and we are building an AI-driven flavor engine which will let us create desirable flavors using AI as a modality.
If you could put your website address in the box, in the Q&A box, I think people can see
I'll put the URL of my lab, as well as the company. I'll put it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Subharaji, this question maybe you can answer. In real world for reformulation, what is usually the biggest challenge? Regulatory limits, consumer acceptance, or technical formulation constraints?
The first thing is the consumer acceptance.
Right.
First thing is the major thing is the consumer acceptance. So for getting the consumer acceptance, we have to work on several things, and where we have to follow the regulatory limits, obviously, because if you are going out of the regulatory limit, then again the product gets failed. And for attaining this, the technical formulation, which is already there, like you have to work on the different technologies, and which everyone is working today on the technologies. The biggest challenge first is like the consumer acceptance. For getting the consumer acceptance, you have to use your technology and keep the limits of the regulatory and maintain such a way that the product gets acceptance.
Great. All right. And regulatory is there to enable the whole approach. Yeah. Next question. How do companies balance clean label demands with the need for functional sugar or salt replaces? I guess, Dr. Kokre, you were talking about naturals. That might be one way.
There are several ingredients today for this. There are several, not one, two. There are several ingredients which they can go. Even the AI will be very helpful for that.
I think the next question from Dr. Wajid has already been answered is, what recent scientific advances like novel flavor modulators or mineral blends show the most promise for achieving reformulation without sensory regret? I think we have discussed a lot of it. Some specifics can be obtained from the individuals or their references. Yeah. What are the biggest technical barriers to sugar and salt reduction, like flavor masking or texture loss, and how have you overcome them in real world products? Again, that's been answered, so we won't go into that. Thank you very much. Just to conclude, as moderator, I have to get in the last word, right? So just to conclude, I think we started out with a topic that says reformulate without regret. Okay, it was almost like, this is some kind of a defensive approach, but it's more, the more I heard you, three experts, the more positive it becomes in terms of the kinds of strategies that are available for us to do this. There are a lot of enabling factors that need to be taken care of course, but the biggest enabler I think that is going to work in our favor, if all of you agree, is the fact that there is much more consumer sensitization and requirement for healthy products. And that is going to drive a lot of the kinds of things that you're talking about. When we started our R&D Grails, the theme that we used was really about music and dance, art. First one was a tango, second one was an orchestra, then it was more of a symphony. And I think now we are coming to the point where we discuss some things together, which actually, if you put them together in a nice holistic manner, will create music. Because at the end of the day, that's what the outcome should be from all those things. So I think what I heard was that we can create some beautiful music for the future, while both safeguarding people's health and also making sure that the products that are made are accepted to the consumer, because if they don't accept, they're not going to buy from you. As simple as that. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for so much for